In this video, we're going to go over the cosine rule, and we have two triangles here to demonstrate why the cosine rule is used and where to use it. So one on the left and one on the right. Let us start with the triangle that is on the left. This triangle depicts two sides of a non-right angle triangle and the angle in between them. If we have these three pieces of information and we want to work out the missing side of the triangle, which is labeled lowercase c, the formula to work out the missing side is simply equal to the following. C squared equals to A squared plus B squared minus 2 times AB times the cosine of capital C. And just so no one confuses the difference between lowercase and capital C, I have written it very obviously so. And what this depicts, once again, is if you have two sides and the angle in between, you can work out the missing side by this given formula here. And just a quick note, it is very common, or it is a general thing, to depict triangles like this, where the sides are denoted by lowercase letters and the corresponding opposite angles are given capital letters. So for example, A and the side A are opposites, so you can see they have lowercase and capital letters. Same with the sides and angles of B and the sides and angles of C. Okay, so if you will have two sides and the angle in between, you want to work out the missing side, use this formula. What about this case here? We have all three sides. Okay, we have all three sides of our triangle. However, we're missing an angle. Okay, we don't have any angles and we would like to work out this angle here, C. Okay, there is a formula that we can use for this, which is also the cosine rule, which goes as follows. The cosine of angle C is the same as A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2AB. Okay, and we have to be very careful when choosing A, B, and C. We have to make sure that we actually choose the angle and the sides that are correspondent to the angle C. So for example, when we minus C squared, we have to be minusing away the side that is opposite to the angle that we're missing. Okay, so these here are your two formulas that we're going to be using in this video today. So let's have a look at some questions. This is our first question. We have a triangle where two of the sides are 10 and 15 centimeters, and the angle in between is 15 degrees, and we would like to work out the opposite side. Can we use the cosine rule? Yes, we can. It was the first example in the two triangles in the examples that I gave before. So what would be the formula we would use? Well, the formula we would use is C squared equals to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of capital C, which denotes the angle. So let us now substitute in the values. C squared is really just the missing side squared, which in this case is x squared. And that is equal to A squared plus B squared, which is just the two known sides that we have. So that's the same as 10 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 10 times 15 times by the cosine of the angle in between the two known sides. And the angle in between the two known sides is just the cosine of 15 degrees. So we've just worked out what x squared is. If you want to work out what x is, all we have to do is simply square root both sides. Okay, if we just square root both sides, we have worked out our answer here. So it's just the square root of 10 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 10 times 15 times the cosine of 15 degrees, which is simply equal to 5.93 centimeters. And that is how you use the cosine rule for this question here. Here's the next question. The next question has a triangle where we have all three sides in it, but we need to work out what a missing angle or an unknown angle is inside this triangle. Can we use the cosine rule? Why, yes, we can use the cosine rule. The formula for this case here is the one with the triangle on the right from the previous example. So the cosine of angle C equals to A squared plus B squared minus C squared all over 2AB. So in this case, we're trying to work out the angle of theta, so that would be the angle of C. So the cosine of theta is equal to A squared plus B squared, and remember, A squared plus B squared denotes the sides that are next to the missing angle. And C squared, the side of C squared, is just the angle that is opposite to our missing angle. So this would be C, and these two here would be A and B. So that's how we have to sub it into our formula here. So this would be the same as 8 squared plus 15 squared minus 10 squared all over 2 times 8 times 15. Okay, and that gives us the cosine of theta. So if you want to actually work out what theta is, all we have to do is the cosine inverse of both sides. Okay, we take the cos inverse of both sides here like this, I don't have space to write it, but you get the idea. This is simply means that theta is equal to cosine inverse of 8 squared plus 15 squared minus 10 squared all over 2 times 8 times 15. And the number for this is simply 38.05 degrees. Okay, this is our next question. We have a triangle where we have two sides and the angle in between them, and we're trying to work out the missing side here using the cosine rule. Pause the video and give it a go yourself first. Okay, so we would have to use the cosine rule for the missing side. So in this case, it's c squared equals to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of angle C. So A, B, and C in this case will be as follows. A and B, you can interchange them to be honest. This would be lowercase c, and the angle in between A and B is capital C. So let's substitute in the numbers now. We have that x squared equals to 16 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 16 times by 30 times by the cosine of 60 degrees. And to work out what the value of x is here, all we have to do is square root both sides of the equation. And when we do that, we get x is simply equal to 26. And that is how you work out the missing side here. Okay, this is going to seem very repetitive, but here's our next question. We have three sides of a triangle and the angle missing inside of it. So pause the video and give it a go first before I go through it. Okay, so for this one here, we would use the cosine rule for the formula that has the missing angle. So this would be the cosine of capital C equals to a squared plus b squared, a squared plus b squared minus c squared all over 2ab. Okay, so now that we have this, let us substitute in the values. So our missing angle here is alpha. So cos of alpha equals to a squared, take b squared, take c squared. For this case, the opposite side of our missing angle will always be denoted as c. So then the two sides adjacent to it will be a and b. So a and b will be 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 5 squared all over 2 times 8 times 5. So 2 times 8 times 10. So now in the process of trying to work out what alpha is, we would simply just work out the cosine inverse of all of this here. Okay, we would do the cosine inverse of all of this. And that answer comes down to 29.69 degrees. So that's how you do this question here. Okay, this is the next question here. We have, again, very repetitive. It's going to be a missing side question. So the formula for this will simply be that c squared equals to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of angle C. So now when we're working this out, we have that the missing side is lowercase c, and these two sides are a and b, and the missing angle, or the known angle here, is capital C. So let's input the numbers. We have that c squared is x squared. That's equal to 4 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 6 times 4 times by the cosine of 20 degrees. Okay, and to work it out, you just square root both sides of the equation, and you get the value of x, which in this case is just 2.63 degrees. Okay, this is our last one where it's getting kind of repetitive now. So we have a missing angle question. Okay, so just to do it really quickly, the opposite angle to the missing angle will be always denoted as lowercase c. The two sides will be a and b, and the missing angle therefore has to be capital C. So the formula that we would end up using for this question is the missing angle formula. The cosine of capital C equals to a squared plus b squared minus c squared all over 2ab. Okay, so now when we plug in our numbers, here is what we get. We get that the cosine of beta is equal to 35 squared plus 27 squared minus 46 squared all over 2 times 35 times by 27. And to solve for beta in this equation, all we have to do is do cos inverse of both sides. So now once we do cos inverse of both sides of our equation, we get that beta is equal to 94.92 degrees. And that's how you solve for beta in this question here. Okay, this will be the last question for this video here. Our goal in this question is to work out the side length of BD, which would be this length here. And before I drew this red line, it was kind of hard to visualize why on earth we would use the cosine rule here. But now that I've devised that we simply just have to draw a line that connects B and D, we can see we have two triangles. We can see that we have this triangle here, and we have this triangle here. So we have to use one of these triangles and the cosine rule to work out what the missing length of BD will be. So we have this triangle here, which we'll start off with. In this triangle, we have one side and one angle. And that's nothing that we can use the cosine rule with. In cosine rule, we needed to have at least two sides and the angle in between them to work out the missing side. So for this one, we can't use this triangle here. So let's look at the triangle BAD. Okay, let's look at this triangle here. We can see that we have two sides, AB and AD, as well as the angle in between them. So we can use those three pieces of information to work out the missing side of BD. So let us use the cosine rule in that triangle now. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times the cosine of capital C. In this case, C squared is just the side length of BD squared, and that is equal to 4 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 4 times 6 times the cosine of 92 degrees. Okay, and to work out what BD is, we can just square root both sides of our equation. And the answer that we get for BD is simply equal to 7.34 centimeters. And that is how you use the cosine rule very elegantly and very simply.